Alright, no preliminaries or none of that other nonsense. I'm just getting in on this thing right now because I'm pissed right now. I know I keep saying I'm going to watch my language, but right now I can't help myself because here's the deal. I'm continuing to engage in conversations about this whole Courtney, whatever her name was. I'm sorry, I don't want to look at her name right now because I'm too emotionally strung up right now that I really don't want to get all the details. But we all know who we're talking about, the Ole Miss homecoming queen who everybody's, who us, I guess I should say, keep making this big issue and coming up with all these conspiracy theories talking about why she was elected, or how this is such a diss against African Americans by putting a black mammy looking somebody in a what is essentially a popularity contest and overlooking all the positive aspects as to what her election represents. And of course, most of you folks, I'm sure, didn't bother to check into the deeper details of the story, such as knowing the fact that there was only a 90 vote difference between her and her only other rival in the whole thing. She apparently also went in on the same principle of, hey, I want to represent the school because I'm involved with so many of the activities and I feel like I'm a good candidate to be representative of Ole Miss. The same thing that Courtney said in her plea to be elected homecoming queen. But of course, because she's an overweight black woman, the whole issue has to be the fact that, oh, this is just the white folks making a joke at her just because she looks like Mammy, she looks like Precious, and there's some hidden agenda, and this whole thing, this whole emotional trip that got started with me, it was a result of listening to Tariq in the background talking about how much of a diss this is against black people and against black women, and I'm like, oh, please God, no, not again. When do we ever allow ourselves to enjoy anything positive about any of our accomplishments? Anytime we do anything that reflects positively, we always have to find some kind of negativity in order to keep tearing ourselves down, to keep us feeling like there's always some angle of victimhood. We can never just be good enough. Anything that we accomplish has to be as a result of, well, they're just letting you have it because they feel guilty about it, or, oh, they're just doing this just to shut you up, or, oh, it's some kind of a joke, or they've got some hidden agenda behind it. It's never because, hey, we're good enough and smart enough and doggone it, people like us. Those of you who understand the reference, you got it. If not, I'm not going to bother explaining it to you. But the reason I'm trying to rush through this right now is because, as I was saying, the whole emotional thing had me just doing a bit more searching and more research on this whole mess. And, I also looked at other angles of it too, seeing how we look at the so-called racial angle, or the whole insidious angle behind how Courtney's election, what that supposedly said about the election of a black woman at a historically racially insensitive school and whatnot. And again, that's bringing to light, I see white folks seem to be having a hell of a lot of an easier time with this. And no, not from a position of mockery either. They actually seem to be genuinely supportive of Courtney's election. But of course, black folks, being that we have to be eternally victimized within our own mind, we just can't let anything that's positive about this stuff rub off on us and give us something to be proud of, or to give us anything to where we can say, hey, there's somebody who's an example, or who's a role model, or somebody who's inspirational, to give these young black girls something to strive for. No, we got to keep reflecting on the fact that she's black and she's overweight, and oh, well, that's just white folks just trying to keep us in that stereotypical image of viewing black women as mammies and all this other stuff. And so it's not good enough that a black woman has become a homecoming queen by popular vote by the student body, no less. That, well, that's not good enough. So there's some racial shenanigans or some questionable stuff behind that. Well, I came across a similar story where you would think that, oh, us free liberal thinking black folks, that we're so open-minded and so accepting, and we like to see everything fair and equal and balanced and all this other stuff. Surely were roles reversed, we wouldn't have those same kind of problems. We would actually applaud something like that. 13 October, year 2009, from the Huffington Post, the Black Voices section. Headline: Hampton's first black homecoming queen causes stir. And the full article reads as thusly, quote, Friday night, Nicole Churchill became Hampton University's first non-black homecoming queen and the second non-black homecoming queen of any historically black college or university. Her crowning by 5 judges has caused controversy as students and alumni debate whether Churchill deserves the distinction. The 22-year-old Churchill is Hawaiian, with an Italian mother and a father from Guam. According to WTKR, she was chosen out of 10 applicants in the competition and reportedly built her win on the platform of mentoring girls ages 11 to 14 on topics including self-esteem, body image, teenage pregnancies, and nutrition. Ending quote of the article. Okay, so we've got an issue when a black girl gets elected homecoming queen at a historically white university. But at least we're showing some consistency, I guess, when a white girl gets elected as homecoming queen at a historically black university. But again, that still raises the question, why is there any controversy about it in the first place? Why is it that we can't have it to where we don't put ourselves in a position of feeling like victims? That everything has to be about being a victim. Oh, if it's something that where a white person advances in a whole sea of black people, then we're victims. Okay, well, same thing here. Homecoming queen, black woman, white university. Oh, there's something insidious, or, there's some hidden agenda, or there's something. Okay, fine. I made a commentary about this earlier before. You know my viewpoints and my feelings and my thoughts and opinions on this thing. I think y'all really need to get over yourselves. But I'm going into this rant phase only sort of like an addendum to kind of like cover some of those earlier tracks, because that's really not the purpose of why I wanted to go rantastic on this particular instance. No, this one actually comes as a result of something that actually spun off of this whole thing about this overweight. Keep in mind, the focus is not that she's a black woman. The main focus seems to be the fact that she looks like Precious. And so, yeah, the woman clearly has weight issues. We're not blind. So that seems to be everybody's big, key, major problematic issue, at least within the black community. White folks, especially the racist white folks, the Stormfronters and the free Republican types, yeah, they're going to make an issue out of her simply because she's a black woman. And the whole overweight thing, well, that's just icing on the cake for them. So we already know they're going to have a problem with it. Our problem as black people is not that she's a black woman, it's the fact that she's an overweight black woman. And we're concerned about, oh, there's that image and oh, she's represented, and people are just using it to mock her, and that's a backhanded compliment, they're just dissing us and all this. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. But since that seems to be the major focus, I started to try to get a little bit of sense about where other people's thoughts and opinions are about this whole thing. And I came across some comments on an Essence magazine article, because Essence magazine addressed pretty much some of the same points and issues, wondering if there was really a conspiracy behind it, or if this was something that we should really be proud of as an accomplishment of this young woman. But after reading the article, of course, I had to see the comments and see what everybody else was thinking. And to my initial surprise, I was like, well, hey, everything seems to be falling in the favor of positivity. It's like everybody's congratulating this woman and saying, hey, what an example that you are, and this is a good thing for you, and God bless you, and all this other stuff. I started beginning to thinking that, I don't know, maybe I judged black women wrong this time. Well, I figured that, since she was running as homecoming queen, that's probably where the bulk of her our black support came from, because I figured that the black men who voted for her as homecoming queen probably fell within two categories: those who just were like the nationalist types who just like put a black face in a high place regardless, and those who were like, hey, this is a popularity contest, it's about looks, and admittedly the airheaded looking white girl actually is the cuter of the two, and they probably went down that angle. It's like, hey, we don't want to be associated or represented with the big mammy looking black women. So I'm sure there was a lot of that was going on in there. I'm not going to try to deny that. But I was just looking at it from the point of, the support had to have come from black women as far as her running. But as far as anybody's talking out about it on the the wider circuit, if you will, I kind of suspected that we'll hear a lot more of that whole victimology thing going on, like, what's the real reason behind this? What's the real story? What insidious thing were they doing in putting this? But no, they were actually overwhelmingly positive. But I say, well, hey, it's only 40 comments so far. Let me go ahead and just, kind of see, if everything runs consistently. But the thing you cannot do with and among black women, unfortunately, and it's still a truism, is the fact that you can never ever tell black women when they're wrong, or when they're doing something that's harmful or that's going to be detrimental to them or our image in some sort of way or fashion. And this started out when I came across a comment by someone who identifies herself as Selena, who essentially said that In fact, let me just read the full quote. Quote, "I'm sorry, but her weight is disgusting, and no matter how you sugarcoat it, it's unhealthy," unquote. Now, there's no untruth in that statement. She didn't say that she was ashamed that this woman had gotten elected homecoming queen, or that this was some underhanded plot to stain our image or anything. She just stated a simple point. It's like, look, hey, congratulations on the fact that a young, intelligent, smart, bright black woman achieved this historic thing, but the fact that she is overweight, okay, everybody must acknowledge that that's an issue that we have to be mindful of. And she told no untruth there. But as soon as somebody speaks truth to a black woman, what do you suppose the response was? Everything that followed was, you're an evil person, you're an extremist, and your comments are disgusting, and that makes you a disgusting person. I wonder what you look like, and how dare you disparage this black woman because she's beautiful, and black women are come in all shapes and sizes, and there's all kinds of beauty, and you don't know whether this woman's unhealthy or not simply because she's just on and on and on and on about this. That it's just non-stop attacks against this woman who just pointed out a simple basic truth of life. But because it was a simple basic truth of life, puts black women in a place where they're going to be criticized for something legitimate. And not only that, but it's something that we can actually work on. It's like, hey, let's acknowledge the fact the woman's huge. Nobody's trying to pull anybody. Well, let me back up. I just lied. A lot of people are pulling the wool over their own eyes over this. That's why they jump on this Selena person and somebody else who refers to himself as One Val. No, not B Val. This is a totally different person. And who come out and said it pretty much the exact same thing. It's like, look, you can't glorify this stuff. It's unhealthy. It's unappealing. It's unattractive. The fact that her student body was willing to overlook that speaks volumes about the woman's character. But let's not overlook the fact that she is not really representative of somebody that we should be applauding as far as how she carries herself and her lifestyle choices. But no, you can't do that because she's a black woman, and of course you can never criticize black women for anything, especially when they're doing something that puts their health and their well-being at risk. So that was what I really wanted to rant on. I don't have time to go into more detail about it, but again, there's really no need to anyway, because you understand my position on the whole point. And I'm just going to leave it at that and let you guys continue to fight this thing and battle it out as you want to see fit. But at this point, I'm just tired of all the excuse making. I'm just tired of all the denial, and I'm tired of all the times that when we try to do something positive, even if it's a hard, brutal truth that we need to be faced with, we always have to figure out that there's always something intent on keeping us down in our place. And I'm tired of being told that we have to stay in our place. So if that's the attitude that you want to have, you're free and welcome to it. I'm not traveling down that road with you. End of line.